Hello students, welcome to week 10. This module focuses on the assessment of marginal populations. So let's get started. So the learning objectives for this course include being able to explain the role of assessment in working with marginalized populations, identify frameworks of assessment with marginalized populations, apply frameworks of assessment to case studies, and critically evaluate the effectiveness and appropriateness of assessment frameworks. First, let's get started with the definition of assessment. Assessment is a process between a social worker and a client in which information is gathered, analyzed, synthesized to provide a concise picture of the client. Second, assessment is a fluid process from the point you see your client to the point you close or discharge the case. You continue to receive information, analyze, and synthesize new information as it becomes available to you throughout the case. So that's why it is a fluid process. You should acknowledge that clients won't tell you the whole story from the beginning, so the assessment will continue through the entire process. And regardless of the context, there are three questions an assessment must answer. The first one is, what does the client see as his or her primary concerns or goals? And this is really important because it emphasizes social work self-determination in assisting individuals to reach their own goals, and sharing concerns help alleviate the client some of the concerns that brought him or her may help them identify their goals or wants. The second question is, what, if any, current or impede the legal mandates must the client and social worker consider? And for this one, it is important to get an issue on the table from the beginning. So, for example, an adult protective worker must assess the risk for abuse and neglect and other danger to an elderly client, whether or not the client shares these concerns. And the last question is, what, if any, potentially serious health or safety concerns might require the social worker and client attention? So, for example, if you are working with a client who just left or after incarceration and you're helping them find employment, you may need to move into a different direction or focus if the client reports self-destructive thoughts, lack of living arrangements, substance abuse, untreated injuries, or other issues that have a more immediate concern, because social work does play a big emphasis on self-determination, but in some cases where the client is at risk, social workers need to act um, even if it means against the wishes of the client, when the social worker sees a foreseeable and imminent harm, as the NASW Code of Ethics dictates. An assessment also helps us to see both the needs and the strengths of the client, because if we just focus on the problem or diagnosis, it may lead for us just to focus on the pathology or dysfunction of the client at the expense of overlooking his or her strengths or capacity to overcome the problems. And we need to have a balanced view. And as we see here, we also need to assess the personal and environmental both needs and strengths on multiple levels. So as you remember during the week that we talked about intersectionality, we need to pay attention to all the vulnerabilities associated with a client's different identities, as well as the strengths related to the client's different resources at the different levels. So this picture right here is a good example. So if we ask you to see this picture and describe what you see, we may see that there are a lot of risks or negatives in this family or household. So, for example, one of the girls is up there searching in the cabinets, and that may be a danger because she may fall and she may also spill other items which might break and might be a harm to her. We see that the children are down there eating the cake, which is not healthy for them. The other child is looking and climbing in the fridge, which again, she may also harm herself. The mother is there and she seems to be not paying attention and disinterested. And the dog is eating in one of the plates, and the house is very messy. There are many things laying around, which also may be a harm for the children. But if we also look at the strengths, oh, and there's a child sticking his head in the microwave. We see that there are multiple toys laying around which are age appropriate. Um, the girl seems to be wearing a tutu, which means that probably the mother took her to ballet classes. There seems to be plenty of food around the house, fruit, veggies, and a lot of food in the fridge and in the cabinets. Um, so yes, I mean the house might be messy, but there are other positive things. So this is what we mean when we need to take different perspectives and not just always focus on the negative.